XRP holders, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Let's waste no more time and take a look at, what's happening with XRP and of course what we could be expecting going into Thursday morning. If you have not subscribed, guys, what are you waiting for? Hit that red subscribe button. But if you're looking across the board, over the last few hours, we did see a little bit of a minor pullback, and that is due to Bitcoin also seeing a little bit of a pullback, and obviously dominance being as high as it is, it's not going to be so helpful. But let's not forget, what has been happening for the crypto markets over the last, few days. Double-digit gainers. Market is feeling a lot of love. So that is something that we don't want to really be forgetting. But XRP is down about 5.2%, with the price currently sitting at $2.15. Down 3% in Bitcoin, comparative market cap at 125.5 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at about 4.45 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So we're going to start off with this. ETF flows, around 9,820 Bitcoin were bought. So once again, obviously net inflows on BTC, but Ethereum, I want you guys to focus on ETH, 23.9 million outflows. So Ethereum is not seeing, that excitement. It just sums up what we've been discussing on a daily basis. You're not seeing as much interest for ETH. And of course, it has that ETF as well, and you're still not seeing as much demand coming in. BTC is, leading the inflows. And again, dominance speaks for itself. Dominance kind of sums it up. If you're looking at the way it's obviously building steam, as mentioned in our update yesterday, we were sitting at 64.64% for the dominance for the first time since 2021. And not only a yearly high for this year, but like I said, not having retested this level since 2021, should really tell you the importance of this and how much, momentum Bitcoin really has. So moving forward, this is quite interesting here. So look at this, April 2024 and, so April 22nd, 2024 and April 22nd, 2025. So this screenshot represents, of course, last year, and this represents this year. What are you noticing here? You're noticing, obviously, Bitcoin, is the one that's up, but you're looking at ETH down pretty much half, almost more than half, I think, or almost half, and Solana also down, but pretty close. What is this showing us? I know a lot of people are going to come out and say, Bitcoin is king, which again it is. There's no question about that. I've said this on my channel thousands of times. Bitcoin is the king of the market. But what this really shows you is, around here, the dominance was really, really low. Here, we're at almost 65%. That is also something a lot of people will ignore, but that's not what you want to be ignoring. But that is that. So you can really see how bad Ethereum has performed. Obviously, if you compare XRP has performed amazingly since last year, of course, because XRP was sitting in like 40 to 50 cents range. It has gone, tremendously up since then. So, that's once again another reminder why you don't want to be looking at, just short-term price action. You want to be taking a look at the long-term picture. But look at this, SEC Chair Paul Atkins is set to speak at the SEC Crypto Roundtable this Friday. So are we going to hear more things in regards to, digital assets regulation? Are we going to hear maybe hints about ETFs? Again, under him, I think we are going to see a wide range of different ETFs being approved, not just XRP. So that is going to be very interesting, of course. And look at this, Tokenizing of the first XRP ETF for the US on Bloomberg discusses the utility of XRP. Ripple is tokenizing everything, and we've been talking about how real world assets are the future, that these institutions are focusing on tokenizing these assets, because of course it just changes the game. It just changes the way the finance industry works. But we're still in the very early stages. But remember that one-stop shop, your boy Crypto ZX has been using this term from the beginning, and I've noticed a lot of people have been starting to talk about that one-stop shop term that I honestly personally never really saw people talking about when it came to the XRP ledger. But again, it is what it is. You can kind of take it how you want to obviously perceive it. But I think some people are, listening to your boy Crypto ZX. But yeah, anyhow, you could really see where things are really heading. But look at this, this is what one thing really, really exciting to me, and kind of sums up the over-the-counter thing that I've been talking to you about, over-the-counter market that, we don't always realize. Because Coinbase reports that, sovereign wealth funds are discreetly purchasing Bitcoin. So OTC, they're picking up Bitcoin over the counter. I think over the counter, volume doesn't always, get accounted for. And I think XRP and the likes of other digital assets are also being bought by big players, over the counter. And yeah, that is very, very interesting. It kind of, sums up, what we've been discussing over the course of the last, few months. And look at this, Ripple's hidden road acquisition will supercharge XRP's utility following regulatory approval in the coming months. In fact, Hidden Road plans to migrate its post-trade clearing onto XRPL, showcasing the blockchain's ability to handle high-volume institutional flows. Very, very amazing stuff. But now, with that said, let's really analyze and take a look at what's happening with the price of XRP. So if you're looking at, obviously, the dominance, it did go up compared to the last few hours from like 64.2% up to like the 64.5% range. BTC, as mentioned earlier, we did drop below the 23.6 briefly. We actually heard some good things about the tariffs, but at the same time, just before yesterday ended, we heard Donald Trump coming and say there could be tariffs on Canada. Again, nothing confirmed, no percentage, but obviously that is something that we need to also factor in. But Bitcoin in the grand scheme of things is looking amazing. Of course, a little bit of a retracement is obviously going to happen eventually. We're sitting below the 23.6. The 23.6 is a very important level to be in, but I do personally believe we will get back into that range. Obviously, a little bit of a retracement is part of the game. And I know, speaking about retracement, if you're looking at XRP had an amazing day. We went up to $2.29 for the first time since March 27th. So, XRP is showing a lot of strength right now with the way the dominance is sitting really high. I think if the dominance was not this high, I think we've already been in the 23.6 Fib zone. I've said this 1,000 times, I'll say it again. But right now, obviously, we need to keep that factor in mind. Of course, still, within this accumulation pattern, within the 38.2, obviously, we know the amount of, resistance there is in the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level, and that's something we shouldn't really be ignoring. But so far, so good. Like what I'm seeing here. Let me know down below what you guys think. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.